Hey, Regis High School Class of 74 classmates, this is Mike Dickoff. Welcome to That Would Be Something, episode number 6. I'm recording this on Labor Day. It's kind of late in the evening, but it's still Labor Day. And I thought we'd focus on that topic of labor. What have we all been doing for the last 50 years? Before I dive too deep into that, let's just do a quick recap of our podcasts here. If you haven't seen some of these, you might want to go back and check them out. Episode 1, we talked about the shades of tomorrow. Episode 2, we recapped the escapades of the Chuck Wagon, the creamy yellow Subaru of Chuck Wagner. Episode 3, Music Can Do That, Colleen Calhoun's story of how she made her way to San Francisco. Episode 4, we talked about the food of Eau Claire. And in episode 5, we spent a little time talking about some of our class celebrities. And today we'll make everybody a celebrity. We'll talk about, talk about Labor Day. And before we dive into our jobs, I was thinking, wouldn't it be something if one of our classmates got inducted into the Regis Athletic Hall of Fame? And guess what? Old number 30, our very own Ed Watkins, will be inducted in a couple of weeks. So before we get to the reunion, Ed will become an official member of the Regis Athletic Hall of Fame. In case you didn't know there was such a thing, there is. And here's the list of 66 people that are in it as of today. So they'll be adding Ed to this list. There's only 66 people over almost 100 years of Regis, so this is a very rare honor. And I thought it was kind of interesting going over this list, some of the names on it. You can find some that you might think are particularly interesting, but here's Ron Buckley, the old Buckshot newspaper guy. I didn't know he was a Regis guy. 1952. I did not realize that Tony Fiore, our basketball coach when we were at Regis, was a Regis grad. Here he is. It says he graduated in 1956 and was inducted in 2008. Tony moved on to Rhinelander High School a couple years after we graduated, but he was our Phi Ed teacher for the guys and our basketball coach. Here's Pat Watkins, Ed's older brother. So Ed will be the second Watkins inducted into the Hall of Fame. You can see there's a number of Fishers here. Here's Pete Kopel, who is our classmate Ann's brother and our classmate Patty Wenberg's husband. Here's John Fisher, our classmate Gene Rodell's husband. Here's Mike Devney, who was a star on the basketball team our senior year. He was only a sophomore, and I can tell you he was a beast on the basketball court because as a second stringer, I got to guard Mike Devney in practice, and I'm telling you, that was no fun. When a guy is taller than you, stronger than you, quicker than you, and can jump higher than you, it's kind of hard to stop him. I didn't have a whole lot of luck stopping Mike Devney, but what a basketball player he was. Rob Gagne, who was a freshman when we were seniors, went on to star at Notre Dame in football. There he is, our classmate Paul Gagne's brother. So a lot of fun names on this list. And the question is, now that Ed's in, he's broken the ice for the class of 74, who else might be next? I'm putting my money on the Mighty Mouse, Mary House, killer point guard. We'll see if Mary breaks into this category or not. But congratulations to Ed. Now, Ed was one tough son of a gun on a football field, and really in any sport. He was a talented athlete. He was a versatile athlete. He played football, baseball, basketball. I'm probably missing something that you did, Ed. And he was a great teammate. Not only was he a great player himself, but he was a really good team guy. I played on a couple of teams with him. And he was college material. He became a blue gold in football. And Ed translated his athletic success into life success. He just had his 40th wedding anniversary. He's a father. He's a grandfather. He was a special ed teacher for a number of years, so he took that tough exterior, and he must be a little bit soft on the inside, because that is one tough job that he did for a number of years. And he was also a Phi Ed teacher for some of his years. He's still competing. Here he is out on the golf course. I know he's got a group he plays with regularly, and I don't know how well you can see it, but he's still got a very mean glare when he's trying to stare you down on an athletic field. So I bet he's still a really tough competitor. Congratulations, Ed. Thanks for making the class of 1974 proud. Now, wouldn't it be something if one of our classmates was performing at the Pablo Center on reunion weekend? And again, what do you know? There's classmate Mary Garvey Verrill. She'll be on stage with her violin. There's Mary, and Mary's done everything in threes since graduation. She has 3 children. She has 3 degrees, a BA and MA, and a doctorate of education. She's held down 3 jobs. One she calls her day job. I called it an IT specialist. She helps companies put websites and internet content out on the internet. She's been a book author and a publisher, and she's a violinist. Her team sport of choice is orchestra. She plays professional violin in 3 orchestras. And there's a book that she wrote and published, Thea Bowman, A Story of Triumph. And Mary will be on stage on Saturday afternoon at the Pablo Center. So when you get to Eau Claire, if you're interested in participating, or maybe you can connect with Mary through our Facebook page, get more details. But that would be something to see. She told me she'll be done well in time to attend our Wild Ridge reunion on Saturday night. So she's going to do double duty on Saturday. So what have the rest of us been doing for the past 50 years? Well, I'm going to give you a quick tour, and I'll start by saying I'm probably going to make some mistakes because I've talked to a lot of you over the last few months. I've tried to absorb as much information as I can. My brain is no different than your 68-year-old brains. It's forgetting stuff it didn't used to forget. But here, let's go. Here's 12 people who have been small business owners for at least some portion of that period of time. Ruth Beaver and her husband owned a bar and grill. Deb Brantner, who I saw last week when she was in Eau Claire, she and her husband owned a very cool business that sold firefighting equipment in Northern California, where that is an essential. They sold that business at some point, but her husband also spent some time as a firefighter. Steve Brorson in the construction and concrete business. Pam Dingman in the corporate telecommunications business. Lisa Felmy had a rental business in Winter, Wisconsin. Deb Foster, part of the Foster Abstract family business. Karen Lannis and her husband owned a resort up in Chautauqua. Tom Runnigan had a cleaning business down in the area around Elkhart Lake in southeastern Wisconsin. Joe Shea down in the Milwaukee area owns and leases a number of properties. Jim Vaudreuil ran the family business Hipsch Laundry for many, many years. Chuck Wagner was owner of Ojibwe Golf Course for many, many years. And Rich White, White Glass. If you were putting windows in a house over the last 40 years, you probably bought it from Rich. I'm sure I missed a few business owners, but we had a lot. Doctors and nurses. We had 4 doctors that I'm aware of. Phil DeRocher, who went back to medical school in his 30s, became a doctor, family doctor. Claire Helminiak had an amazing career, including becoming the Assistant Surgeon General of the United States at one point. Spent a lot of time on Indian reservations, and according to Phil DeRocher, he told me Claire had brains she hadn't even used yet. She's so smart. So she's a very, very accomplished career there. Gwen Hofkes was a dentist, and Neil McElroy, Gwen Hofkes is a dentist. Neil McElroy was a doctor. Unfortunately, Neil passed away a number of years ago, but he rounded out our doctor crew. And then we had at least 3 nurses or professional assistants. Diane Bridges, Linda Schubert, and Sandy Opheim was a dental hygienist. And I'm using the words is and was here. We've got some people still working, like Phil DeRocher told me he's still active part-time. A lot of us, it's a was. Many of us are retired from our corporate careers or our what we spent a lot of years at. Okay, other people that worked in the health industry in some capacity, not as doctors or nurses. Bruce Breckle was a radiology technician. Liz Fye, occupational therapist. Steve Lund works at a company that tests medical devices, makes sure they work. Kathy Soley, Deb Walter, and Jean Rodell all were on the administrative side of healthcare, managing offices. Mary Beth Tainter works for a Twin Cities large healthcare firm. Tony Shuttle, I believe, spent many years as a counselor, and Diane Radowitz was a psychologist. I tried to convince Diane to come to the reunion, telling her there would be a lot of interesting psychology she might study at our reunion, but she was too smart for me. She figured out what I was trying to do, and unfortunately, I don't think she's going to make the reunion. There's still a ray of hope, but anyway, lots of people spent their careers caring for others. Always a good thing. We do have a few engineers and scientists. Chuck Bai is our only rocket scientist. At least he's an aeronautical engineer, knows how to make things fly. I told him he was our only rocket scientist, and like only an engineer would, he said, "Well, not really, Mike. I work on planes, not rockets, but come on, Chuck, help me sell the fact you are our only rocket scientist." Over on the other side there, Mike Zeiss is a mechanical engineer and an MBA, worked in a company for many years that made specialized pumps. And in the middle there's our valedictorian, Paul Brown, who has lived in the North Carolina area for most of his post-Regis career and worked in the field of new medical devices and medications. I don't know more than that, but I know he's helped to make stuff that helps people get better. And he was a chemistry student at Iowa. Then we have a large contingent of educators, and that ranges from Barb Anderson, who was a librarian, through a number of people who were teachers: Michelle Boyle, Deb Cairns, Peggy Hagman, Paul Woolitz, Ed Watkins, Mary Carol Robertson. Mike Devine was a teacher, was a coach, was an athletic director, and finished his career as the principal of Stevens Point High School. Teresa Wallace has been over in Wausau at the tech school over there, helping to develop a number of new curriculums. And Joe Urick, I must admit, I don't know specifically what Joe did, but I'm pretty sure he was in the education field. Then we have a few people who fed us through farming: Dave Bollinger, Mark Nix. Some people that worked in the food and food services industry: Tim Weingart, Sam Steinmetz, Mike Campbell, and Nancy Jacklin, who were rivals in the restaurant wars between Hardee's and McDonald's. People who moved that food and other stuff to consumers: Randy Adams and Carrie DeMolinaire, drove trucks were truck drivers for many years. Then we have a couple classmates. Jeff Graw is going to talk at Wild Ridge on all the people that performed some military service, but both Jeff and Janet Thornton spent quite a number of years in the service. I think Jeff was in 20 plus years, and Janet maybe similar before they did other things. But we thank them for their service, and Jeff is going to recognize others who served in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, other branches of service. I call this category craftsmen and artists. So these were people that had some specialized skills. Mark Chelstead and Joe Vinton were master auto mechanics. Bob Cass, musician. Joe Michaud was an architect. Fortunately died far too young, but he was an architect in New York City. Greg Rudd can fix anything, and if you need a new bathroom or a new kitchen, he's still your man. Jeff Kaufman became a master carpenter, making high-end furniture. Mary Reingans Bowie, her artistry is done with hair. They call her Stylin' Mary, and she is her own best advertisement. I'm telling you, she's got an amazing hairdo still. So she's a walking billboard for her business. Colleen Corrigan, who is down in Florida now, is a fitness instructor. Kathleen Wilkinson is a specialist in digital design and making websites and other computer systems look good. Colleen Calhoun spent some time as an interior designer. So we had a good artistic bent that went through our class. You could probably put Mary Garvey in that category too with her music skills. Here's a bunch of people that worked in a variety of businesses in a variety of roles. Bill Barrett, who actually spent some time down in Australia, worked in the phone industry. Mark Howie has moved around quite a bit, working in a number of different businesses. Steve Meinholz is the #1 all-time seller of HVAC systems in Eau Claire. He's probably been in 90% of the houses in Eau Claire, and one time or another making a bid or helping somebody install a new furnace or a new system. Dave Schrader worked in a local packaging business. Lower row here, Norm Falch worked in a local business. Tom Polder traveled around the country working in the utilities industry, energy business. Tony Schroer worked for the phone company in the Eau Claire area. Dan Lavley's, I think, our only banker over in the Appleton area. We have one lawyer in our class, Tom McDonald, who not only is a lawyer, but he was a very successful Wall Street lawyer, partner in a Wall Street firm. I told Tom we were proud of the fact he was a successful lawyer, and we're also proud of the fact we only had one lawyer in our class. We got too many lawyers in the country, so thankfully we had only one, but he was a really good one. And here's another fact I'm proud of about our class. No politicians. At least I could. Now, maybe some of you ran for office or maybe even one office, but nobody that became a professional politician. So I'm thankful for that. And more. Steve Schaefer worked in the state, I believe, the DNR. Don Breitzman worked at UW La Crosse. I'm not sure what Deb Hoyer did. Linda Johnson worked in the court system. Brian Thies in construction. Paula Matrajek, I believe, was in the jewelry retail business. Peg Bridges still lives in the area in Durand. Bev Conlon was in real estate development. Judy Landers over in the Twin Cities. Rick Gunther still in the Eau Claire area. Liz Hoffman still in the Eau Claire area. Sue Mason still in the Eau Claire area. And more. Mark Oneman, Mary Menard, Dale Miller, Janine Sperry worked in the university system. Linda Vink, Ruth Weiss, we saw her this week and heard a little bit about her championship Beagles. Donna Aldworth, Donna Meyer, Liz Pickett, Al Blazer, Ann Walter, and Jeannie Wenstedt. Now I didn't say what all these people did. Some of them I don't know what they did, but some of them I do. But if you want to know, show up at the reunion and let's all compare notes on the last 50 years. Now here's three more that we haven't unfortunately been able to communicate with. I mentioned in my last podcast that we can't find Tim Russell and Rick Sheldon and Hilma Arce, the exchange student in our class as seniors who stayed in the U.S. and married a Regis grad, currently lives in New Jersey. Haven't been able to get a response from Hilma on whether she's coming to the reunion, but we still will make an effort to make sure they know. Now here's another job that a lot of us had as parents. Probably our most important job in some respects, and one we had to split time between this and making a few dollars. But here's an interesting fact. Our parents collectively had about 600 children. We collectively had about 200 children. Those are rough numbers, but obviously our parents, and when you think about the families of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 kids, it's not surprising that they outnumbered us. Now, Druzzy Fink, who unfortunately passed away very young, was our class champion in terms of children. She had 6 children. And Maureen Conlon, Mike Devine, and Julie Floor all have 5 children. I think I've got those numbers right. I apologize if I missed somebody who has 5 or more kids. We've got a few people that have had 4. A lot have had 3. A lot have had 2. And wanted to recognize the outliers on that particular accomplishment. So I hope that information will kickstart some interesting discussions for you at the reunion. There's a lot to talk about. We've got 50 years times 110 people to talk about. Now, not everyone listed here will be attending. But just because you're not there doesn't mean we won't talk about you. So your ears might be burning a little bit. And if I left you off this list, it's because I didn't have a yearbook picture. There were a handful of people who, I think I only had a 74 yearbook to work with, and some of our classmates who started with us didn't go all 4 years. Or maybe it's because I have something in store for you in an upcoming That Would Be Something. So if you didn't see your picture here, don't worry, you will get your 15 seconds or 15 minutes of fame. Our 50th reunion, now less than 3 weeks away, will be something. Please, please, please show up. You will regret it if you miss it. September 20th, the Brewing Project. September 20th, 21st at Wild Ridge.